First question, Adam Spolin.
Hey, Stephen, what do you know about Cam Reynolds?
Not too much. I know he can shoot. I know he's from the area. I actually have a college teammate of mine. His name is Doug Stewart. He coached in college, and he actually coached both Cams, Cam Oliver in Nevada, and the new Cam at Tulane. So he called me about both guys. It's like two good guys. Could obviously we'll get a chance to see them tonight and see what they can do. But as far as what I know, not too much. I just know he can shoot the basketball.
You look at some of the guys that you brought in, Armani, Kyrie, and now him.
Yeah.
That's what you said about all three, is that they can shoot. Is that what you guys are looking for now going forward as you try and build around this roster, is that you have to be able to shoot?
Yeah, I mean, we do need shooting. As you've seen this season, we're towards the top of the league in three-point attempts and towards the bottom of the league in three-point percentage. So, yeah, we need some guys who can shoot the basketball, and if they could play some defense as well, that helps, right? So Armani's defense has improved since he's been here, and Kyrie's defense has been steady since he's been here, and we'll see. But yeah, as far as going forward, yeah, we need some shooting out there so we can let the other guys play to their strengths, whether it's Kelly making his plays, or Seawood doing what he does, or KP and John doing what they do. All of their strengths are heightened if they have shooting around them.
Mark Berman.
Hey, Stephen, are you getting any of your injured guys back tonight?
No.
Ali Kambajani.
Hey, Stephen. Every season you see a revival of a scheme, or like recently, like the uptake of the use of zone, or a new innovative change, or just a reintroduction of something. Is there something you've noticed this season that stood out to you that, oh, wow, like, that's become a lot more common?
It's a good question. I would say the post up has become a little bit more prominent because of the switching. So teams are posting more, and we're having to deal with whether it's the Embiids and Jokic's of the world, or the two guys who we were going to play tonight, their post ups and that sort of thing. I would say we're seeing more post ups. We're having to teach more post up defensive schemes. We're having to teach more like individual post technique, and for the last few years, that hasn't necessarily been something that we've had to focus on. But yeah, for this season, we've had to kind of game plan post ups more than we had the last couple seasons. And then you see us, as far as Kelly coming here and taking advantage of switches in the post, and we're posting more since he's been here, and Jayshawn Tate taking advantage of switches and posting as well. So I would say like the re-emergence of the post up is, off the top of my head, one of the things that we're seeing a little bit more of.
Is this also because of the way teams are defending, shooting teams in particular, where they're trying to force them off the 3-point line, but also take away things at the rim, where you have that mid-range area open? Is it better to kind of slow it down and get it into the post to be able to create?
Yeah, I mean, teams are definitely trying to take away the three, and the other side of it is teams are trying to figure out a way to get more threes. And if you're not using pick and roll, if you're not using drive and kick, another way to get to it is the post stuff. And if you have a guy who can do anything down there, then you're drawing help, you're drawing double teams, you're drawing situations where the kick out of the post becomes a potent weapon. And with Cousins tonight, I'm sure he'll post up some and he can pass and kick out to 3-point shooters as well. So yes, the 3-point shot definitely has something to do with it. But I also think that the numbers surrounding it, teams generally just kind of allow some post ups because the numbers aren't necessarily great on the defensive end.
Lawrence Murray.
Hi, Stephen. I'm just thinking about how you were coaching that Dallas team against the Clippers. You were on that staff in the playoffs, and now you've been presented with the season where you're going to put your 30th player in a uniform tonight. And I was just wanting to get from your perspective, like, how far have you kind of had to bend what you want to do as a coach, what you want to do offensively, especially to just fit around this ever-changing roster over the course of this year?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say I came into the season with thoughts about how we should play and how we can play based on the roster that we had. And then we had so much roster turnover, as you're saying, and kind of finding out new things about Christian Wood and figuring out ways for John Wall and Kevin Porter Jr. to play well together. And then the addition of Kelly Olynyk after we had Victor Oladipo. So yeah, I've kind of stayed true to playing 5 out and playing pick and roll and driving kick and that sort of thing. And I think our numbers as far as our shot quality and our shot location have stayed pretty consistent as the season has gone along. But you have to kind of cater to or plan around the roster that you have. And with the changing roster, it's kind of hard to really get into the details and depth that I really wanted to this season. I wanted to keep it simple, and that's what we did. But yeah, there's some things that that you just get better at by practice and by repetition and by all of those things. And when you're introducing new people in, like today's shoot around, we had Cam Reynolds, who we hadn't had him before, so we had to go over a bunch of old stuff, and that's what it's been most of the season, like review instead of introduce. And hopefully next season with less injuries, hopefully, and more practice time and a little bit more consistency with the roster, I'll be able to kind of implement more stuff and kind of build on things instead of just introducing or just kind of reviewing over and over and over again, because we're starting from a new point with every new injury, new trade, new roster addition.
Thanks, Steve.
Brian Bearfield.
Coach, as you wrap up your first year as head coach, will there be anything that you will do differently once you get away from the game of basketball for a small period of time before you have to jump back into your head coaching duties?
No. Gonna spend time with my family for a few weeks. My wife enjoys summer husband a lot more than season husband, so I'll just spend time reconnecting at home before we dive right back into it and really evaluate the things that we did well, the things that we need to improve on, the roster, and all of those things are going to be evaluated this summer. So there's a lot of work to do as far as the individual development of guys, as far as the group development, as far as my kind of assessment of myself and things I need to do better. That'll definitely be what I'm working on this summer. But for the first couple of weeks, it's definitely staying home and not being on the road and reconnecting with the people who have been so supportive to me this season.
Jonathan Fagan.
Just following up on your previous answer, it's too soon to know how many guys off this roster will be back, but do you have a feel for what kind of a foundation to what you want to build you've been able to put in that will carry over? Or do you have to almost start as if next year's the first year?
I think that's very dependent on who we have. It seems to me that we'll have a lot of the same guys back. And if that's the case, then we can build on what we've done, especially offensively, the last however many games, as far as the spacing and the threes and the points that we're scoring and how we're scoring them and that sort of thing. On the defensive end, we just need to start over, to me, because we never really did get our defensive base in. We were a very good defensive team at the beginning of the season when we were practicing, when we had a group that was playing pretty much every night, or, you know, we had Dave Nawaba out there playing defense, and we had Sterling Brown, and we had John Wall. So we were much better for that stretch. It seemed like a long stretch, but we were a top 10 defensive team. And with injuries and with roster turnover and all of those things, Victor Oladipo is also part of that. But with all of those things, our defensive concepts and our defensive production has struggled. So getting back to that is definitely something that we're going to do moving forward. But I think we can really kind of look at the end of this year, not necessarily the young guys that we've had to play, and I guess less like the people and more of the style. So it's something that we could carry forward. Not to say that, you know, the KJ Martins of the world aren't going to get the chance to do what he did this season, because he's been great. And same with KP and same with Armani. All those guys have been great. But next season, hopefully, we'll have the front end of the roster playing in a way that kind of produces like open threes and easy points in transition and all the things that I love offensively.
Cody Davis.
Hey, Coach, if you don't mind, I just wanted to ask you really quick about Victor Oladipo. I don't know if you saw, but he had surgery, and it seems like he's going to be out for an extremely long time. And if you don't mind, I just wanted to get your opinion, just to reflect on his time here in Houston, and why didn't it work out with him with the Rockets?
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily say it didn't work out with them. It's just got traded. But he was a good defender for us. He was productive for us. He was not 100% healthy. And I think that was the main thing. Like, for him, most of his time here, and he'd be the first to tell you, was trying to get his rhythm back and trying to get his game back and trying to get back to where he was. And we've talked about this a bunch as far as the guys that we had here coming back from major injuries, whether it was John or Vic or David Nawaba, those guys who are coming back from major, those guys coming back from major injuries. So his time here was okay. And he would probably be the first to say that he was really just trying to get back to where he was. And for us, he was a productive player, but trades happened, and I reached out to him after he had his surgery and just told him I know he's going to come back even stronger, and this is just a setback, but he is a fighter, and he should be proud of that.
Adam Spolin.
Do you think any of the guys who are out tonight have a chance to play Sunday?
Probably not.
Jerome Solomon.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned earlier about needing that few weeks off, a break here at the end of this season. I know you've planned for this a long time, but have you found, or what has been the difference that you found in the grind of being a head coach, just moving, a chair or two over from where you'd been for so long?
Yeah, it's totally different. It's a totally different job. As much as you can prepare, as I did for 20 years, and as much as you kind of envision it. And maybe it was different this year for me, but as much as I envisioned it, it's hard to prepare for everything that you are responsible for all the things that you have to kind of make sure that people are doing, and running a staff, and I've always had great relationships with players. It's never been an issue, but it's different when you're the head coach. So this has been a eventful year because we started in a totally different place than where we ended, and we had all of these ebbs and flows in between. So I don't know if it is maybe just that's how it is when you're moving from assistant coach to head coach, or this was just like a incredibly different year because of everything that kind of happened with the injuries and the starting lineups and the players on the roster and COVID and all of these things that happened this season. So it's a different job, and it's hard to prepare for it. And I was prepared as you possibly could be, but still difficult. It's definitely a difficult job that I love. I love it.
Brian Bearfield.
In that different year, I mean,
Go ahead, Jerome. I can wait.
I was just say, Coach, in that different year, you one of your strengths, as you say, is relationship with players. But just into this press conference today, I think you mentioned 15 different names because you've had many players. Have you even been able to establish all the relationships that you would like or would normally get in a?
No, no. There's, just a few guys who are here right from the start, and you want to use the whole season to build relationships and go through the ups and downs and have the hard times and then the great times and the meetings and all of those things. So I wish that I could say that I'm super connected to all of the guys that we have in the locker room right now, but the fact is we've had 30 guys on the team this season. So there are some guys that I'm not as connected to as I want to be, but I do feel like I've done a good job of making sure that everybody knows where I stand, and they definitely all know that I'm in their corner and have their back and believe in them and want them to do well.
Brian Bearfield.
Coach, will you get a chance to spend some time with your dad this offseason? If so, how long will it be before he starts giving you pointers for next season?
Oh, it won't be long. It won't be long, but yeah, I'll get a chance to see him this summer and just hang out with my dad and enjoy the moments. Looking back on the moments that we had when I was his assistant coach, I just cherish those moments so much. So now it's just, I just want to see him and hang out with him. We don't have to talk hoops at all, although I'm sure he'll be talking about hoops, and I'm sure he's very proud of me for talking about post-ups tonight. And I'm sure he wishes I had mentioned offensive rebounding or something like that. But I don't know when it'll be, but I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.